Today's episode contains adult language and an abundance of salt. So right. Buckle up, Vikings. We're talking some weird stuff.
This episode contains an abundance of rape.
And grinding.
And dismemberment.
How do you rape somebody? Well, like this. Just like full on chin rides him, man.
Yeah, chin rides
some
him.
good shit.
Does the face ride?
You're going to do it whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Who wants a beard ride?
Welcome back to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, the Salty Nerd. In today's episode, we're talking Vikings. And I'm joined, as always, by the barbarian himself.
I'm not a Viking.
You're not a Viking? You look like one. Or you want to look like one.
Well, the beard will get there.
Well, he also chose this one.
Yeah.
That's right.
He chose your Viking
buddy.
life.
This is my week.
Life didn't choose him.
Matt Vader, at Matt Vader 74 on Twitter.
I chose fun movies to watch.
I disagree with that.
Welcome back.
Thank you, man.
I'm also joined by the ambassador of estrogen and shield warrior herself with your braids today.
Thank you.
Jude, welcome to the
Yeah,
show.
Jude did her hair up like a shield maiden.
I was inspired by today's topic.
Everybody seems to be. I brought mead. We're good.
We're drinking out of skulls.
Yes. And I'm also joined by the barbarian, not the barbarian. What are you? What kind of Viking name can I give you?
He's the lore speaker.
I'm the chieftain.
Yes, he is the law speaker, isn't he? Yes, the law speaker himself. Or is it lore or law?
Lore speaker.
Lore speaker? Lore speaker himself.
No,
It's
it
law
was law
speaker.
He's the law
speaker.
speaker? I don't know, whatever. It works either way.
I'm the dragon rider.
Oh, don't give yourself that much credit.
At Matthew Kadish on Twitter. What's up, man? How you doing?
Skall.
You're more of the Rufus
Skall.
of the group, I think. Rufus?
Rufus.
Rufus?
The artist.
Of Rome.
Of Rome.
Yeah. Skall.
Skall. Yes.
Cheers.
I'm not going out on stage until the time is right.
All right, we're talking about 13th Warrior.
Yes, I want the non-erotic cock massage. Get on that, Jude.
There's going to be a lot of laughing for this podcast, just so you're aware, because these movies were hilarious. I don't know if it's...
Well, no, the movies were pretty terrible, but the show,
No,
the
they
show's
weren't.
good.
No,
The show's good.
I liked Outlander. Anyway, we're talking about 13th Warrior starring Antonio Banderas. We're talking about Outlander, not the TV show with the hot dude and the Claire chick. The other Outlander from 2008 starring the guy from Count of Monte Cristo.
dude.
Yeah, Count of Monte Cristo and Jesus.
Jim Caviezel.
Casavel?
And then finally, we're talking about a TV show called Norsemen, which is quite dark and funny. So enjoy the show, guys. And if you get a chance to listen or watch these shows, go check it out, especially Norsemen. It's pretty funny. But let's get into it. First off is 13th Warrior. Jude, do you want to tell us what this movie is all about?
This is about an exiled Muslim ambassador finds himself in the company of Vikings on a mission to fight the forces of evil. So this stars Antonio Banderas. It was released in 1999, directed by John McTiernan. And it was actually, I don't know if you know this, it was adapted from a Michael Crichton novel, Eaters of the Dead. Oh, you knew that? Okay.
I did.
Fine.
I did just a little bit of research this week, and I was like, oh, Michael
good for
Crichton.
you.
I think he even helped with the production of the movie also.
That's your dinosaur boy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Boy.
So this, the budget was, budget for this was funny. It was 85 to 160 million.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the reshoots,
The
right?
reshoots, yeah. What do you think it made?
It was a bomb.
Yeah, I feel like this probably didn't do very well. I didn't check to see how much it made, but I'm going to say maybe 120 million worldwide. No?
61.7. Yeah,
Yeah,
it didn't
it
even
was
make its initial
flop.
budget.
It was a flop.
That hurts.
She didn't ask me. I was going to say, I'm going to
Oh, I
guess.
thought you knew.
I'm going to guess $61.7 million.
Oh my God, you're amazing.
Yeah, but this is actually considered one of the biggest box office failures in cinema history.
Really?
Really?
And in terms of money lost.
Should
Oh,
it have
God,
been on our...
I see you have notes, Matthew Kadish.
I always have notes.
He always has notes.
He got his
always
Wikipedia breakdown.
he's always
over there.
prepared.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie. I didn't hate it, but it's definitely got some issues where it kind of like drags a lot.
Nothing to hate in this movie.
It drags.
Why don't we let Vader give us the rundown?
Tell us about this movie.
I'm not good at rundowns.
No, just tell us about this movie.
Yeah, tell us what you liked about it.
Yeah,
you
this
like
is
about
your
it?
pick.
I like the whole movie. I enjoy it from the beginning to the end. So I like the story. I like the setup. I like the execution. I like the cinematography. I like the music. I like the Viking prayer. I like the Windows or whatever the fuck they're called.
Are those the bear people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
they're all good.
Antonio Banderas' character, his name is Ahmed Ibn Fadlan. And when he's introducing himself, like Ibn means son of, so he's always like Ibn so-and-so, Ibn so-and-so. And so the Vikings are just like, Ibn.
Son of.
They just call him son of the entire movie. It's like, oh, Ibn.
I will give it the movie credit, although it wasn't my favorite pick this week. I'll give it credit for a creative way of showing both the passage of time and him learning the Viking language. Because it was like a montage of him sitting around the campfire and just listening real intently on all these Vikings telling stories and whatnot. And then like he pipes up when some dickhead calls his mother a whore or something like that. And he just like speaks in their language, and that's when it comes
like, what?
Yeah. And that's when it cuts to English so that the audience can understand what they're saying.
McTiernan did something similar in Hunt for Red October.
Yes.
And so like that's kind of like his hallmark is.
It's a good thing.
And that was the best part of the movie.
It was. So let's talk about around the table what you guys thought. We got Vader. He just likes it just because you just like it.
I enjoyed
this.
I watched this movie probably 15, 20 times over
What?
the years. Oh, yeah. I really like this movie.
Wow.
Since 99?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy.
What
You
about
watch
it?
it once a year.
I used to own this movie. I still do. But my DVD player isn't hooked up. So
Oh, okay.
What about this movie appeals to you so much?
I just
He likes Vikings.
I just like Vikings, man. I like it. It's just a fun movie to me.
Do you like the Hobbit movies?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're like dwarfs are basically just Vikings, just shorter.
I guess.
Is it like a theme for that?
Yeah, I'm
Just-
not really a big dwarf guy. I'm more of a orc dude.
Okay.
But I like the spectacle. I like movies that visually appeal to me.
watch
in
people get decapitated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie actually has a very apparently a very accurate depiction of Viking life.
Oh, right on. Well, let's get into that. Jude, why don't you tell us what you thought about this movie?
I thought it was boring.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like this movie at all. Kadish and I watched it together, and I don't think either of us said anything the entire movie. And then afterwards, I just went to bed, and I was like, by the way, you didn't like that, did you? He was like, no. And I was like, oh, thank God. Okay, good night. I didn't care at all. I'm shocked that you like it as much as you do.
It's okay.
Vader. I just thought it was really boring, and I this was the first thing that I watched for this week, and I was like, oh shit. Is everything I'm gonna watch this week gonna be this terrible? And thankfully this was the worst of the bunch, and everything got progressively better as I watched it. So I'm excited to talk about the rest of the shit we're gonna talk about today, but this I really don't have anything to say about. I didn't like anything.
Wow. Anything? Not even
no.
Antonio Banderas?
No.
Oh, he was
He's
cute
not
as
for
hell.
me.
He's hot.
It's too sexy.
Antonio
sexy.
He
Banderas.
gets me too much on fire in my loins.
I liked the fish out of water aspect to it, where he was kind of like looking at this culture like, ugh. Like he comes from this very primitive proper. He's, royalty, and then he goes into the delves of Viking culture, and he's like got the spit jar and the
it's gross.
the spit bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
So like there's
He's like,
this,
no.
there's this scene where they're all sitting at a table. I didn't get to your hold on, Kadish, what did you think about this movie?
No, please continue the spitball.
Sorry, the spitball story. So they're all sitting around the table.
It's
and
riveting
They're
stuff.
sharing this.
Well, they're waking up. It's the morning face rinse.
These guys are like clearing their throats and their noses into this bowl of water and like splashing it on their face and just passing it around the table. And when it gets to Antonio Banderas' character, he's just like, no. He's just like disgusted at the fact that they would even consider doing that.
Well, plus Muslims, they have a very kind of
They're very clean.
well, they have those rituals about cleanliness and stuff, especially back then.
Yeah. So it was like it was a culture shock for him. But I thought it was interesting, and you're right. It does kind of it depicts the Viking culture in a way that normally it gets kind of overlooked a little bit. Kadish, you and Jude watched this together, and you didn't like it either.
Well, I mean, I'd seen this movie before. So when it first came out back in '99, I was a big John McTiernan fan. Like he's made 3 of my all-time favorite movies. In fact, I think when we talked about Predator, I mentioned that John McTiernan has made 3 perfect movies in his career, that being Predator.
And this was one of them.
That being Predator, Hunt for October, and Die Hard. So I was very excited for this movie to come out. And so I went and saw the movie in the theater, and I was bored out of my mind. Like, it was a very underwhelming movie. And then I went to go try to read the book that it was based on, Eaters of the Dead. And I realized, the book is even worse. So Antonio Banderas' character, Ahmed Ibn Fadlan, he was an actual historical figure. And it's kind of written in the style of like his notes, like you're reading his journal type thing. And it was just so boring. And the whole book was based on a dare.
Somebody dared Michael Crichton to write a book about
Well,
Vikings?
Michael Crichton was at some type of dinner party or cocktail party or something like that. And some English professor was talking about Beowulf.
Okay.
And he was saying about how like Beowulf just like could not be written today, and people don't appreciate, the sonnet poem structure, like whatever.
Yeah.
And Michael Crichton was like, if I wrote Beowulf, people would love it. And so he was like, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And so Michael Crichton went off, and basically the 13th Warrior, or at the time it was called Eaters of the Dead, is basically a retelling of the Beowulf story, but through the point of view of this Muslim ambassador who kind of goes along with these characters. And when I was watching the movie, I was actually thinking, even though like I noticed like the Beowulf similarities, it felt more like a take on the Seven Samurai more than anything to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, like with the Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven, that whole thing, it's about like this group of warriors basically that go to a small town that's being ravaged by some sort of outside evil that they are unequipped to deal with. And the warriors come in and help the townspeople and defeat the bad guy and stuff. And so like it felt very Seven Samurai to me. And the funny thing about this movie is that even though it's credited to John McTiernan, what happened was his first cut of this movie, which was originally titled Eaters of the Dead underneath him, tested so badly in test screenings that the studio started freaking out, because originally the budget was something like, I want to say,
Like 60 million, you said, right?
It was originally 85 million.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was around 80 million.
Which for back then, that's
quite a bit.
Significant. Yeah.
Yeah. So McTiernan's version of this movie, apparently like it was very different from the final cut that we got. And so the studio kind of freaked out, fired McTiernan, kicked him off the movie. And Michael Crichton came in and took over on all the reshoots and the rewriting and the re-editing of the movie. So like a good 40% of this movie was reshot by Michael Crichton himself.
Oh, so they Kathleen Kennedy'd it.
Yeah, like this was basically a Star Wars story situation before Solo a Star Wars story. Yeah, so when Michael Crichton came in and started doing all these reshoots, he added like another 80 million to the budget, because he
basically doubled the budget.
Yeah, he basically reshot everything. Wow. And
was it that bad, do you think?
And that's why it cost 160 million when it was all said and done. And I mean, I don't know how bad it was. I mean, the thing that we got wasn't very good. So if it was so much worse than what we got, then I don't know.
Well,
I'd almost be interested in seeing what the original version was.
So you two are pretty much in agreement. I think the table's split, because I did enjoy this movie.
I don't know what was so boring about this movie. The movie moved from beginning to end.
Yeah, it was.
They introduced people.
Every movie
they set it up
from beginning.
They had the action sequences, and then they had the cave scene, and then we had the little end battle, and that was it.
Don't take
Game
it
over.
personal.
I'm not.
Yeah. So one of my issues,
But it wasn't boring.
Yeah, I'm with him. I don't think it was boring. I think there was moments that kind of dragged, and maybe there was a lack of connection with some of the characters.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest problem with this movie is that you don't really get to know any of the characters except maybe one or two of them. I didn't know the names of any of the guys. I didn't really sometimes I had a hard time telling them apart. They had some of them had their own kind of personality quirks, but at the same time, when someone was like, "Oh, Ragnar died," and I was just like, "Who's Ragnar?" I had no emotional investment.
I agree with you there.
I can see that totally.
But there's 13 of them, and we're not going to get to know all of them intimately.
A good film would do that.
Yeah.
A good film,
Seven Samurai.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. You get to know each one because
Ocean's 13.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it can be done.
Everybody has a very particular personality, and I think that was shown. You got the one dude who really like befriended Antonio Banderas' character, and he was like this really intelligent one that took on that dude in that little like fight, and he's like losing. And he kind of just shark baited. What is it called? It was when you trick somebody into thinking that they're better than you. I can't remember.
Is it salty nerding?
Wow, damn, dude.
Kick him while he's down.
Yikes. That's good.
Damn. No, anyway, there was that guy. He was very prominent in the movie. You got to know him pretty well.
He's Herger.
Yeah, and then the
Herger? How do you say Herger?
Herger.
I don't know.
Everything's very sing-songy, and you kind of talk like this and up and down, and that's how you sound like a Norwegian.
I wish I was Norwegian.
Me too.
Well, what's funny is the Chieftain character. For the longest time, I thought that was the guy from Die Hard. The big Nordic looking guy from Die Hard that John McClane ends up killing at the end. So like
spoiler
for like sorry. For the longest time, I was like, oh, that's the guy from Die Hard. No, completely different guy. Just looks the same.
Yeah.
Looks exactly the same.
They're all just blonde and huge.
And Brendan Blackfish Tully was a member of the.
Oh yeah, that was a cool little what do you call a cameo if it's not a famous person yet?
It wasn't a cameo.
That's what I'm saying.
he was cast in the movie.
Okay, well, what do you call that if it's not a cameo? Just he was
cast in the movie.
He was in the movie.
He was a member of the
So
cast.
Lord Tully, the Blackfish from Game of Thrones, is in this movie as one of the Viking.
It's a
warriors.
blackfish sighting.
Yeah, There we go.
I don't know why I'm blinking on that, but I can't see it in my head.
You don't know
and I've seen this movie dozens of times.
He was the dark-haired one. He was like the only one that had like dark.
No, there were a couple of dark-haired ones.
Was there?
Yeah.
I thought they were all blonde.
No,
There was one redhead who was a jerk, right? He was the prick to.
he ended up surviving.
Yeah. Oh, that's
There
another
was
thing.
2 redheads.
Let's talk about the bad guy, the evil force in this movie. Like it was like surrounded by this weird mythology at first.
They're
I'm on the
Neanderthal
Yeah.
tribe.
They're
I'm
like
on the
this-
bad guy's side.
You're on the bad guy's
Yeah,
side.
just fucking kill him.
They were called the Windles,
The Windows, yeah.
and they were a tribe of barbarians who believed they were bears.
Yeah, and they're like ruled by this like mother bear that lives in the cage, and she just is it implied that she just like gave birth to all these people? Because in the book, she's like an old woman in the book.
Well, in John McTiernan's cut of the movie, she looked like the little idol they were running around. It was
Like a big fat lady?
Old fat. And,
Yeah.
And when
I
they were
think
reshooting it, Crichton came in and was like, let's make her sexy.
Well, no,
I kind of get the impression from the movie that the mother is like a figurehead. She's like they have this
queen.
This queen figure.
Well, they also added the chieftain of the tribe. So like you had the
war
mother
chief, yeah.
and then the war chief. But
Yeah.
that was something that was added in the reshoots. It wasn't originally in there.
The reason why they did that is because originally, when it was an old woman that they went to, Crichton came in and felt like having these like great warriors that we're supposed to be rooting for go in and kill some decrepit old woman was kind of like not great for the movie. So
It was fine for the book though.
he made her younger and more like a fighting somebody that they could actually fight. So it kind of just eased the shock of decapitating somebody. But that's why they did that, though. I thought that was
I think
probably
something. I think something that kind of like goes through all these movies. Maybe not Outlander so much. Is Vikings how they depended so much on the words of their old decrepit seers and soothsayers from reading the bones and the blood in the cup and stuff. And it's a weird kind of.
It is funny in every Viking story when they don't know what to do next, they just go to the oracle.
old lady.
Yeah.
And the oracle just like makes shit up and tells them to do something. They're like,
drop
okay.
this crow's blood in this cup of mead and see what that looks like and stir it around with a stick. It's like, oh, you have to go to the top of the tallest building and pull out the spear from the bear hide and thrust it into your enemy's heart. And yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
So I have a question. There's 2 things that kind of took me out of this movie. One, Antonio Banderas making like an Arabian like curved sword out of a Nordic.
Well, it's because he didn't like the big heavy giant.
I know he didn't like it, but you can't do that
swords.
with a grinding stone. Like that's not you
Well,
have
I don't
to
know.
completely reshape and like metallurgy doesn't work like that.
Well, that's what he did though. He went to the blacksmith and had them melt down the
Said,
sword.
"Make me a
and
sword."
no,
and
he
then
did it on the wheel. He showed him doing it. Like, here, I'm just going to carve it
I
down.
don't know, man. You gonna Phantom Menace this shit? Come on, care.
And then the other thing is, where'd these cave dwelling people find all these horses? And
I've wondered that myself.
where do they keep them?
It's like, where's the cave people's stables?
Yeah, because there's like
yeah.
there's like 300 horses in that first raid that they did.
Oh, I think there's more than that.
You think it was more than that? I like that they thought it was a dragon.
Yeah, they have
What I think
cavalry.
though, I think they actually filmed that. Wasn't CGI, wasn't where it's at today back then.
Yeah,
Oh, no, yeah, they actually filmed it.
Yeah, that would have been. But put a set.
yeah.
What a set.
We're gonna get
That would have
1,000
been-
horses
That would have been awesome. I would have loved to have been there and seen that.
with torches. Everybody's
Yeah.
gonna be dressed like a bear.
I can't believe we haven't seen like any like behind the scenes photos and stuff. That would have been a really cool thing to like see.
Yeah.
But
I just felt very detached from this movie. Like when we were watching it, like I didn't care about any of the characters except maybe Antonio Banderas' character, but that's only because he was like the
main
main
one.
character. Yeah. Like the dialogue wasn't particularly smart or interesting. The situations, like, yeah, the battle scenes were cool, but like there was nothing attached to them. Like I'm always a big fan of like, if you're going to have a big battle scene, have the audience care about the outcome, because then like it creates tension, it creates excitement. With this, it was just like, okay, the bad guys show up, the good guys fight them, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And it got boring after a while. It got really boring. Like me and Jude were just sitting there like, how much longer is on this movie?
I think
I don't know. I feel like I get emotional every time I hear Bolvi do that Viking prayer at the end. So then he's dying and he finishes his thing and he sits on his throne and puts his sword down. That's it. He
And
dies.
he's like, I'm done.
And it's like, that's awesome. I want to go out like that.
Yeah, right?
Who doesn't want to go out like that?
The thing is I didn't care about that character at all.
Oh, I did. I cared about him.
I was like, he's one of 13 others that are
He's the
nameless
leader.
face. I know he's the leader, but like he did nothing throughout the movie that made me actually like give a crap about like what happens to him.
he was very stoic and distant.
Yeah.
Like there was never a moment where you kind of got to know him as a
At least
person.
Beowulf was like, he thought he was the shit. Like he just walked around. He's like, I'm fucking Beowulf, motherfucker.
I think there's one thing that they could have done to make this just slightly more interesting is I think they should have held off on the reveal that these were actually just like cave people. I think they should have kept on that idea that this was like some crazy mystic, like weird demon thing. Because they kind of revealed that it was just a bunch of like,
Well, once they figured out that these things bleed, that was when they hatched a plan
If
to
it
go
bleeds,
kill
we
him
can
in
kill
there.
it.
yeah, exactly.
That was when they figured out they needed to hatch a plan to go cut its head off.
they pulled an
That was-
Arnold.
Well, it was funny that one scene where Antonio Banderas kills one of the Wendels, and his bear helmet falls off, and you see that it's a person, and
He just goes ham on him.
Well, he goes like, they're people. They're actually people. And Jude turned to me and she's like, did they not know they were people?
No, they thought they were like mythical creatures.
Yeah.
They thought that's what
demons from
Yeah,
the mist.
like that.
But I mean, as we were watching
The fireworm.
the way Jude was watching it, she's like, oh, well, of course they're people.
I was like, oh, that's the big reveal.
Yeah, like as an audience member, you're like, well, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they would have kept up the idea and kind of like convinced the audience that this was some mythical like force that was bearing down on this village, and then the reveal didn't come until they went to the cave and realized it was, I think it would have hit a little bit better.
Yeah, but the planet was also flat back then, and people believed in dragons and magic and all kinds of crazy shit. So
Actually, like I felt like the best part of this movie was the duel where they pick a fight with the king's son's champion.
Yeah.
And they're doing it to send a message to the prince that they're not to be fucked with.
right,
And so like they have this 3 shield duel where basically each of the combatants gets 3 shields. And then once those shields are broken, like they don't get any more protection. So, this member of the 13 Warriors who's like Antonio Banderas' best friend in the group, he's like this kind of shorter, guy who challenges this much bigger dude to, this duel. And the entire time, like he's kind of making him believe that he's like a lot more tired and a lot more weak than he really is. And the guy just like tears through the guy's shields. And finally, like it looks like he's defeated, and the guy's about to like chop his head off, and then he just like takes him out. Like
Does this like little spin move and outmaneuvers him. It was a good moment.
and kills the bigger opponent to everyone's surprise. And like that whole scene felt like the movie came alive at that point for me. And then immediately after it was done, went right back to being boring.
All right, let's do some final thoughts around the table. Vader, do you suggest people go watch this
absolutely. I love this movie.
movie? Okay.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 10.
4 out of 5
Okay.
for sure.
Right on.
If you like Vikings, you should like this movie. And if you don't like it, well, you're wrong. So that's that.
There's blood, there's gore.
It's got everything you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for boobs.
No boobs.
No boobs.
Nope.
I feel like that's lacking.
San Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, he's all the sexy you need.
That's all you need.
Movie.
That's all you need.
Anything more than that would be over the top.
No, it's too sexy. It's too sexy.
Jude, what about you? What do you got final thoughts on this movie?
Oh, I agree with Vader. I give it a 4.
out of
10.
20.
That's it? That's like, all right.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of shit to say about this movie, but I've got nothing. I just thought it was super boring.
Wow.
I will never watch it again. I don't hate it or anything. I just feel nothing about it.
It's just bland to you. It's like a saltine cracker.
It's a solid meh.
Okay.
It's fair.
Fair enough. Kadish, final thoughts on 13th Warrior?
Yeah, I'd give it probably 2 out of 5 stars. I mean, like, it's not like a terrible movie, but it's just like very kind of middle of the road, boring. If you like Vikings, like, this is probably like your crack cocaine. But like, if you're just looking for like a good action movie, this is not that. We talked about how it was like one of the biggest box office flops. I think some reports have it losing $129 million at the box office on a $160 million budget. And it was just like, as a writer and a filmmaker, I saw what they were going for with like the different take on Beowulf, like a more realistic take on it. And appreciated some of the historical context stuff, like the fact that Antonio Banderas' character was like an actual historical figure, and that he actually did go with the Vikings, even though like he didn't go on this adventure, was interesting. And the portrayal of Viking life was really good. But, aside from all these like little technical, like, ooh, that was very impressively done type things, the story just wasn't there. And I think that the source material, I very rarely say this, but they probably should have deviated from the source material a little bit more to make it a better movie. So, yeah, just very middle of the road for me.
I'm kind of with Vader on this one. I enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect. It felt kind of dated at this point for the fight scenes and stuff. They were a little...
Really?
Yeah, a lot of jump cuts and a lot of like not shaky cam, but like just not being able to actually see the fight. It's all just very flashy and...
It's not John Wick enough for you.
Yeah, I want some wide angle, like full on sword fighting.
Do you want a camera on all of the muscles?
Yes. This movie needed that. This movie and the next one we're going to talk about, there's a severe lack of muscles, I have to say. Anyway, but I did enjoy it. It was fun. I liked the concept. I knew what they were going for, like Kadish said, the Seven Samurai and the take on Beowulf. I thought, I was okay, all right, it's pretty interesting. It's fun. I like Antonio Banderas in it. The story itself of having like this fish out of water guy from a completely different culture coming in and being dropped in the middle of Viking culture, I thought was a really cool concept. So I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Kind of the same concept as our next movie.
Yeah, kind of, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of our next movie, before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody that listening that you guys can go to saltynerdclub.com. That takes you to our Patreon page. We have several different tiers that you can choose from, and each one has a unique and exclusive content reveal for you. I don't know if that's the right wordage, but whatever. We get blooper reels. We've got exclusive podcasts about different subjects, whether or not it's movie news or just us talking and discussing things that the Patreons are interested in. It's all available for you. Just pick a tier, whether it's $5, $10, or whatever it might be. It'd be greatly appreciated. Everything that you give us goes directly into buying some new equipment for us and hopefully meeting our goal of 1,000 Patreon subscribers, where me and Vader can get off the day job and do this full time, so we can talk about movies and do video games and provide all kinds of really cool content.
And just live the dream.
For you, and live the dream.
But more importantly, entertain you guys.
Yes, that is our
We love you guys.
Our main focus is to provide.
And also you guys. But like mostly so I don't have to go back to work.
Yeah, mostly. But seriously though, like we do really care a lot about our listeners. We want you guys to be happy with the entertainment that you're getting. And for me personally, my goal has always been like, the world is a crazy messed up place, and sometimes people just need an escape. And I what are you doing, bro? Dude.
He's fingering his ass sickle.
My leg is cramping up. All kinds of.
I'm trying to do a plug, man.
God, you're so sexual.
He's like, oh, talk more about Vikings and Patreon.
My calf is in like a super knot right now.
Are you okay?
I'm just like, ah. Sorry, dude.
It's a non-erotic cock massage.
Sorry. God damn it.
I'm trying to do a plug. I nailed this one too. It was a good plug. You fucked it
Gotta
up.
straighten my leg out. Jesus.
Is your leg asleep?
No, it.
Now, if you want more bloopers like this, become a Patreon on the $20 tier.
Do you need to lay down?
I need like the coach to sit at the end of the bench and push my foot up like this. You know,
Do you need to get up and walk around?
No, I'm okay.
You got Charlie horse in the middle of it, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks.
Damn. All right, go ahead.
Those are the
Your
worst.
words were just so powerful.
know.
They shot straight into Vader's leg.
Fuck. Got to drink more fluids. All right, keep going.
If you can.
We love you guys.
Where were you? Yeah,
Let's just get into it.
So anyway.
We're done. SaltyNerdClub.com. Please help support the podcast.
Sorry. It's like live entertainment, everybody.
I have to leave that in now.
Do it. I don't care.
I can't cut it out because there's no like clean spot to go from. So
good.
great. All right, guys.
Cramps are real.
There's a sneak peek.
What?
There's a sneak peek
Take care of your muscles.
at some of the stuff.
Stretch when you wake up in the morning.
It's a PSA for muscle cramps.
Fluids, people.
Let's get a pharmaceutical company to sponsor the podcast.
Yeah,
Do you have muscle cramps? Are you over the age of 50?
become a Patreon so Vader can afford his medical bills.
All right,
doing
the
this
next movie on the docket is Outlander 2008, starring Jim Caviezel, famous from Count of Monte Cristo and The Passion of the Christ. Jude, why don't you tell us what this movie's all about, and then we'll get Vader's reason why he picked it.
2008's Outlander is about a spaceman that crashes in Norway in the year 709 AD. So it was budgeted for $47 million. What do you think it grossed?
47 million. I'm going to say it made 85 million.
60. I don't know.
17 million.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, that's wrong.
What?
It made 7 million worldwide and 116,000 in the U.S.
Where did you get your numbers from, Jude? IMDb?
IMDb, yeah.
Where'd you get your numbers from?
So I got it from IMDb and Box Office Mojo. See what happened here. Just to give you guys a quick rundown.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this was an independently financed movie that sold at the Cannes Film Festival, and the Weinstein Company picked up the rights for the North American release rights, basically. And so before the movie came out, the Weinsteins ran into like funding problems. Surprise, surprise. So they decided to dump it onto home video. So basically it had a limited theatrical run where it showed on like one screen in LA. It made $116,000. And then they did like a limited theatrical release worldwide, but then it went straight to video. And so the $7 million that it ended up making in total was all from home video sales. Yeah, so this movie got hosed. Like the people who made it, they spent like years trying to get the funding for it. They, eventually got independently financed, and they made the movie. And when they sold it to the Weinsteins at Cannes, they thought they had their golden ticket, and the Weinsteins just dumped it. They totally took a shit on this movie.
Wow, that's terrible.
It's too bad, too, because it's a fun movie.
I liked this movie.
I did too.
Yeah.
What made you pick this one over all the other Viking movies out there?
Because it's got spacemen and Vikings.
Okay, because you were like you wanted to.
Because it's cool,
his
man.
two favorite things.
Freaking cool.
It's freaking spaceman with Vikings. That's why.
That's why, huh?
And that's why I thought I was going to hate this movie, because I was like, oh, God.
Stupid
Space,
concept.
Vikings.
It kind of like
Fine. But I actually really enjoyed it.
it's like it would not shock me if something like this actually happened in the past. The whole ancient alien kind of theory kind of thing comes in, I liked it. It was fun.
This is where the myth of the dragon came out of. This happened in real life.
Yeah,
And I also like the fact that they actually took some time to, at least a brief amount of time in the show, to tell us how and why he was able to communicate and blend in with these people.
Oh yeah, because he got the little computer
that's
upload.
That's something a lot of movies just don't bother to do anymore. They tell you the story
Yeah.
in this movie, and it was good. I like it.
Yeah, he had this- so for context, what Vader's talking about is when this character crash landed on this planet. Kanan. Yes, Kanan. When he crash landed, what'd they call him? They refused to call him.
They called him Outlander.
Duh.
Outlander, yeah.
When he crash landed, he had this little box that told him what planet he was on, what year it was, the culture that was around that area, and it shot out this little eye thing that
it's basically the Matrix.
uploaded
basically.
uploaded all the prevalent information that he needed to
Right into
blend
his
in.
brain.
Right.
It's like, and as soon as they did that, we can start understanding what he's saying and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
And he was actually speaking Old Norse before that happened. Like the language of the spacemen was Old Nordic.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe there's more to the story, because they did his culture. Like when they showed the flashbacks of him, he looked like he was like the advanced Nordic person with the armor and everything.
The intonation was that the alien race that he was from, or the space race that would colonize these different worlds. The idea was that the people on Earth looked at them as the gods.
Yeah,
and so they literally thought that at the end, like Kanan was sent by the gods.
Yeah.
And because they speak Old Nordic, it's kind of, it makes sense to think
implied that he was a Viking god.
Yeah, it implied that at least like their gods like Thor and Odin and stuff like that were based off of other spacemen that visited the planet.
I like that idea. I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. I wasn't expecting to. I saw it was like a 30.
Well, on the surface, you read what this movie's about, and you're like my wife would look at that and she'd go, "Get the fuck out of here! I ain't watching no stupid spaceman with Vikings."
I did not want to watch this movie.
Yeah, I saw the posters and I saw a couple that were like just like the reviews that it got, like numbers wise, and I was like, "Oh, this is a terrible movie." And
People like me, I look at that and I go, "Oh, this is right in my
right in your wheelhouse,
right in my wheelhouse."
Yeah, I'm with Vader on that one. Like when this first came out on home video, I bought it because I was living in LA. I think I got it on Apple TV because at the time I was like super into Apple TV, and I watched it and I read the preview text and I was like, "Ooh, Spaceman and Viking,
this is great."
Yeah,
perfect. So this is right up our alley. This is everybody's like, this is why we are.
I like it when
we are.
I like it when genres mash together
for sure.
Yeah.
Plus, it's got Ron Perlman in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I had forgotten he was in this. Like when he showed up, I was like, "Is that Ron Perlman?"
Is he the big dude with the beard and bald head?
Yeah.
Oh, that does not look like him.
Yeah, he was
the leader of the other tribe.
It was more of a cameo,
Gunner, right?
Gunner.
Yeah, it was more of a cameo appearance, but still, it's cool to have him in there.
I didn't know that was him. That's pretty cool. Right on. When I watched it, I didn't really know what to expect. I really enjoyed it. There was a couple things that I kind of thought were really weird that they decided to do, and we'll just get right into it. The backstory of Kanan's character being from this like colonizing, spacefaring culture or whatever that goes.
They're basically they're space Vikings.
Yeah, space Vikings.
They take over planets.
They went over and like
they raid planets.
They showed him basically committing genocide on this planet of like dragon creatures or whatever.
Yeah.
Morwins.
Warwinds.
Morwins.
And I was like, so are we supposed to be rooting for him at this point? Like it felt it kind of undercut the whole hero aspect of the movie. I was like, I don't really.
Well, it also made you feel for the antagonist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Made you feel bad for the dragon.
There's a bit of a message in here, a little bit of an anti-war, don't go committing genocide on people.
Anti-imperialism.
Yeah, but whatever.
It's all political.
Who cares?
Well, the interesting thing, so like my biggest problem with the 13th Warriors was that you didn't get to know any of the characters. You didn't really care about any of them. With this movie, like I got to know every single character,
Right.
Yep.
even like the minor ones. You were like, oh, I recognize that guy. I know what he's about.
Boromir.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
So like you cared about these characters, and then they actually take a minute to make you care about the monster.
Yeah.
And so it ceases to become a cut and dry thing. Like at the end when they're fighting like the monster and the monster's baby, you're like, no, don't kill the baby. Even though the baby's like
never
eating
felt that way.
everyone.
It's like it's the last of their kind.
Yeah, I don't know. But like there's a little part in the back of your head when you're watching it where you're just like, I kind of want the bad guys to win.
Yep.
So like it becomes a much more interesting movie because you're invested in both sides. And I did like this movie a lot better than 13th Warrior, even though I didn't think it was necessarily a good movie. But it's kind of funny because both these movies basically are a different take on Beowulf.
Yeah.
And right the year before this movie came out, Robert Zemeckis released his animated version of Beowulf.
It's terrible.
Which is awful, yeah.
Awful.
You guys both hated that?
Oh, I
movie?
hated that
I
thing.
thought it was so interesting.
I actually don't like the original poem.
Yeah, I don't either.
I studied it in high school and college, and I was just like, this is a dumb story.
Is that the one that Angelina Jolie is
Yes.
in? Okay.
Yeah, she's the dragon.
It's the really weird computer
Grendel's
animated
mother.
one. Yeah.
Very weird, but very ahead of its time.
Yeah.
As far as computer graphics
Yeah,
goes.
but it felt like you can't tell a Viking story unless like you just retell
Yeah,
Beowulf.
it seems like everybody just takes Beowulf and like remixes it. That's kind of a bummer. But one of the
We'll talk about that in a little bit. Right?
yeah, one of the things I really wanted to talk about with this movie was how much of a pretty boy the prince was. Like that dude had like a perfectly manicured
Wulfric.
5 o'clock shadow with like his beautiful like straight hair, and he was an
Well,
asshole.
not everybody was ugly back then, right?
No, everybody was ugly back
No,
then.
he wasn't.
I just thought he was like
Freya was kind of hot.
I thought he was super out of place. He looked like Jared Leto's.
He did kind of look like Jared Leto.
He did a little bit. I'm like, why is Jared Leto in this movie? It's just kind of weird.
So that actor's name, Jack Houston, actually, like, so you know that scene where he kind of slides underneath the Morrowind and like, uses his sword to like slash at it.
Yeah.
And then like comes out the other side. So like when they were shooting that scene, he decided like, I'm going to do the stunt myself. And he ended up breaking his shoulder.
Oh my god!
but like he went through the shot and waited till they got cut, and then was like, guys, I need an ambulance, like stat. But like that's how he was kind of a badass. Like he basically broke his shoulder and got the take.
Why you have stunt people when you're filming
Yeah.
things,
Yep.
so that you don't halt production when you get injured because you're just an actor, not a stunt person.
Well,
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
yeah.
But it's kind of funny because after he got patched up, like you can kind of see like in certain scenes he's kind of nursing his shoulder. But I think they shot that scene towards the end of filming, so it didn't really affect much.
Yeah, I thought he looked a little out of place as far as his physical
I
appearance.
don't know, he didn't bother me a whole lot.
He was real skinny. He didn't have any muscle tone.
You know who did bother me a little bit in this movie?
bothered you?
So I have a hard time picturing John Hurt as the Viking
King.
chieftain. Yes,
Oh yeah,
he's a little small,
And,
little bit.
and a little,
bit.
little British.
Yeah, a little British, but
his beard was
he
on,
worked. It
His beard
worked.
was on point though.
The
Well,
beard brought it out. on
He's
him
such
for
a good
sure.
actor, though.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind it. But it was funny, like Wulfric.
I didn't know he died.
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago.
Oh, really?
But
Yeah.
Wulfric and Kanan, what was interesting is like they start off as adversaries, and then throughout the course of the movie, you see them become like friends and allies. I always love it when movies do that because it really, it would have been really easy to make Wulfric kind of like the asshole like rival,
Yeah.
like the internal antagonist of the group. And the movie kind of shied away from that. Like they kind of set it up a little bit at the beginning, but then like once the story got going, it kind of showed it like, hey, this guy is kind of, worthy of being the leader. And he, he's willing to put his life on the line for his men, and he doesn't just be an asshole to Kanan for no good reason. Like he actually, when Kanan has a good idea, he recognizes it. When Kanan does something, noble, he recognizes it. And it just made the character much more interesting than I think a different movie might have made him.
So
Yeah.
was there supposed to be a romantic rivalry there?
A little bit.
But they never really played up on that, did they? It was like I feel like they started to do that, but then they like changed it in the script or something through the movie.
Maybe.
But
Because her dad was trying to get her to marry Wulfric, right?
yes.
Who was a
And what was her name? Freya?
Freya.
Freya?
Everyone's named Freya.
Freya.
If you're a
Every
woman in a
girl,
Viking movie, your name is Freya.
So Freya was in an arranged marriage with Wulfric because her father was going to name him his successor, the chieftain, and he wanted his daughter to marry her or marry him. And
Gunnar was his father, right?
no, Gunnar killed his father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why there was like a blood feud.
Okay.
That's why
Yeah.
he didn't want him. He wanted to kind of leave him outside the gates when that monster was chasing his group.
Okay, I missed that. I kept thinking that Ron Perlman was his father and that he like left their tribe. Okay, cool.
Well, Gunnar attacked them because they thought that the village that got attacked at the beginning of the movie that we
Yeah.
didn't see
That was
by
Gunnar's
the
village.
dragons was Gunnar's
Right.
group.
So they assumed that that
Their rival,
the rival clan was the one who just decimated this village,
Yeah.
but it was actually just the monster.
and they actually set that up because well, Gunnar's going to think we did this,
Yep.
and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
So-
and Wulfric is all about war with Gunnar's tribe. Like he wants to get revenge for his father, and he wants to, destroy Gunnar and everyone who follows him. And so like there's that kind of tension at the beginning of the movie where like John Hurt's chieftain like doesn't want Gunnar to just go based off of revenge. He wants him to use his head. And until he can do that, he's not going to name him
I actually thought it was pretty funny because Gunnar's group attacks the village, then they run away. Then they go out and then there's the dragon sitting out there and they're like, oh shit. And they run back to the village. They just attack going, open the gate.
And they just keep firing arrows at him because they're like, no, it's a trick. It's a trick.
Yeah.
But that was pretty funny.
And Kanan's the one who has to let him in.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one who really cares or knows that, you need more people to fight this dragon thing. The very fact that we're all discussing the inner politics that's going on in this movie tells me right away that it's a better movie than the 13th Warrior.
Oh, for sure.
Because we know what's happening. We know, even if it's just a side story, it's not
Yeah.
really the main plot. We all
Yeah.
know exactly what's going on, why people are doing certain things, why people are reacting to other people the way they are.
And like when characters die in this movie, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like you actually feel
No.
about them. Yeah.
Like in 13th Warrior, I didn't really connect with any of the characters. And almost immediately in this movie, like I super connected with Boromir. I was like, I like that dude.
Yeah, he's like the short, fat, bald guy with the Irish accent.
If I was a Viking, that's who I would be. I'd just be making my own mead and making everybody drink it.
I do have one criticism.
What was the name of his mead?
Huh?
He had like
It
a
was
special name.
Hortith?
the name of the village.
Hortith Mead or something like it. Started
What
with
was
an H, didn't it?
yeah? What was the name of the village? Horrid's
Something like that.
Mead. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was the village mead.
He
Yeah,
kept
it was
it in a
apparently
pigskin.
it was terrible.
Yeah, it was kept in like a dead animal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's
know-
animal skin.
You know I would be doing that if I was a Viking.
A hollowed out goat.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you don't do the Ren Fair thing.
I've gone.
Should we go to the next Ren Fair?
Maybe.
Oh, I'd be so down for that.
I feel like the Vegas one kind of sucks though. It's like Viking days, or not Viking days,
Yeah,
but
it's just in Sunset Park.
pirate days. It's like everybody's running around going, "Arr, here, drink some grog and put an eye patch on with my pirate hat."
It's not like a.
That's not a Ren
I've
Fair.
never
dude.
been there before, so I know it's like
You
right,
haven't?
It's right across
You've
the
never
street from
been
my
to one?
house. No, I want to go.
We're
really
going.
bad. Okay, cool. When do they
As soon
do
as soon as we're allowed to start doing things
Yeah,
again,
someday.
we're going.
Yes, celebrate our freedom.
I will say, like the scene where they're creating a trap for the Morwen, I thought was very
was
interesting.
interesting, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
how
what was
the
that?
whole village came together and
Yeah.
Based on that game, Shields.
Yes.
That they
Oh,
played.
let's talk
that
about
was
Shields.
fun.
That's another
set up and payoff.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
set up a bit. Yeah, this is like top notch writing for you, man. Yeah, the game Shield. So it's basically a drinking game where everybody in the village.
It's an
except for
athletic drinking game.
I like those. So everybody, all the Vikings that have shields in the village, kind of build a big circle around their table, their big feast table, and they hold the shields up, and then two of whoever jumps on top of the shields and has to stay balanced and walk around the table. And then they just start doing stunts to kind of amp up
And
the
drinking.
competition. Drink some mead. This one dude does a flip, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Can you do a flip?" Like it looked like a hella fun.
It looked
It
fun.
looked like
it's a little competition.
impossible.
Yeah.
It did look super impossible. Can you imagine if even if they were like 165-pound dude? It's
Yeah,
like
some dude holding up a shield like
holding-
this,
and he's holding up a shield with one arm, and he carried like
It's like,
these are Vikings though, man.
that's true. They're Vikings. They're
And
badasses.
Wulfric does the flip, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Can you do that, Kanan?" And Kanan's like, "All right."
Yeah.
And he's like Boromir.
Yeah, he's like, "Boromir, are you ready for this?" And Boromir takes a shot, and he's like, "I am now." I love Boromir.
Boromir was dope.
Boromir was cool, yeah.
Yeah, but so like when they fill up this huge pit that they dug full of oil, and they're gonna try to lure the Morwen into this like little cage
And
area.
this is before they realize there's two of them.
Yeah.
They just think there's one
but
at this
they,
point.
they set up these like posts with shields on top of them, and basically because Kanan and Wulfric were like the two best at shields, they were the ones who were going to go out as bait and lure the Morwen into this trap, and then they were going to run across the shields that are kind of hovering on the top of all this oil and get to the other side. And when it's actually happening, the Morwen kind of knocks the shields astray, and Wulfric falls into the oil, and he keeps saying like light it up, like kill it, and Kanan risks his life to pull Wulfric out of the oil before they're able to set it on fire, and it's little character moments like that where we see Kanan could have easily just left him,
Yeah.
but
Everybody else was telling him to.
yeah, but he risked his life and saved Wulfric, and little stuff like that. It advanced their relationship, but it also made me care more about both of them. That Wulfric was willing to sacrifice himself, and Kanan was willing to sacrifice himself to save Wulfric. So, I mean, this movie, it works on a lot of different levels, even though I feel like it was a little bit too long. And
It was pretty long, wasn't it? It was
It was like 2 hours.
yeah,
was like 2 hours
it
and
really
15
dragged
minutes.
it in certain.
But
areas.
I think everything that was in the movie, I don't think you could cut anything out necessarily without losing a little bit of that character development. So I don't know if you'd be able to really slice.
It was paced pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't have any issues.
I mean, you might be able to cut like 10 minutes out, maybe.
I don't know, maybe
a little.
I don't know what you would cut out though.
Yeah, I don't either. I can't really pick anything out that doesn't need to be there.
Did you know that Carl Urban was originally supposed to play Kanan?
I could see that. That would have been good.
Oh yeah,
but
what year was this? 2008.
Eight,
So
yeah.
he would have been coming off of Chronicles of Riddick.
Well, what happened was, because it was an independently produced movie, it kept getting pushed back, and so he couldn't commit to the schedule, and he ended up doing a different Viking movie called Pathfinder.
I like that movie too.
I have not seen that one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's in the same vein as this. So there's spaceman in that one too, I believe.
Really?
I think so.
No, I think Pathfinder is a straight up Viking movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Isn't Pathfinder about when they go to the Americas or something? And
I don't remember.
I
I remember there was
it's
something.
Indians versus Vikings.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
I just remember there being something like fantasy-esque about it.
No, it's not fantasy. But that's the movie that introduced me to the two wolf
Oh yeah,
fable that the New Mutants
ripped off.
butchered.
Okay, so I do have to add a little bit of salt to this conversation because
I have something that bothered me about this
okay,
movie
good.
too.
Maybe we're on the same page. There was two things, but I'll just do one and see if you pick up the other. This trap that they set for this dragon, right? They dig this hole that is at least 13 feet deep by a good 20, 40 feet long. It's pretty freaking huge. It's a giant freaking hole. And Kanan was like, I need oil. What do you have that I can use to burn? And they were like, oh yeah, we've got some oil. And they roll out these freaking giant drums from the middle of nowhere that probably weigh like 30,000 pounds.
Well, they were in the storage unit.
Yeah. I'm like,
Viking storage.
where are they getting this oil? It's like okay, if you think about
It's
a pool,
from whale fat, dude. Come on.
you fill a pool with water, like an average size pool is like 20,000 gallons, right? You're telling me that these people had like 20,000 gallons of oil just laying around somewhere?
Listen,
They have a lot of
Maybe it
winter.
was mixed with the mead.
I'm like,
They mixed it with meat.
that is some really. I thought it was just wine or something.
No, it was like whale oil because they remember
for
setup
the
and payoff.
lanterns.
See, you know what I thought about that? I was like, how did they get that whale up into that village?
Yeah,
That's pretty.
I thought the
impressive.
same thing.
Okay, Jude, what was your other nitpicky thing that you got? You
Okay, so this is really nitpicky, but it's fashion based. So he shows up, he's wearing his space outfit, and then eventually they give him Viking clothes. He never takes off his spaceman tank top the entire movie. It really bothered me.
Really?
I was just like, change your fucking clothes, dickhead. What is happening?
The little vest with, like, the
here
writing on it?
for
Yeah.
months. You have never taken your shirt off, you gross spaceman.
Well,
None of them
None
take
of the
baths.
Vikings. None of the Vikings change their clothes either.
But like, if I'm boarding a flight from San Francisco to Las Vegas, I get home and I shower and I take off my clothes.
That's the cool thing about being a Viking, though. You can just like smell.
Stink.
Fine.
Stink. It's
This
good.
guy traveled from another solar system
This really bugged you?
and never took off his tank top.
He's very into hygiene.
I guess.
You got to the year 709. You got some new clothes. You fought a bear. You fought two dragons. You've been tortured. You've been they kind of made him into a slave for a minute.
I know
Never
why he didn't
once
do it.
did he take off his spaceman tank top.
I know why he didn't never change his clothes.
Why?
Because Freya never cleaned them. That's woman's work. That's what you got the women in the village for.
Freya was a
It really
badass in this movie.
Yeah, Freya was badass.
I love there was a good moment in this that kind of felt like timely because with all the nonsense we're seeing in movies these days where she was like, I'm coming with you. And he's like, no,
you're not.
She's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. Oh, and I love it when Boromir was like, "Ha ha ha! She really ducked you," and he was like, "Hey, look at this scar. She stabbed me with a fork."
You know,
Yeah.
that's something that throughout all the Viking movies and shows that we've seen, Viking women are strong.
Yeah.
You don't fuck with Viking women.
No, you do not.
You do not fuck with Viking women.
Unless
'Cause
you're
they
going to
will-
rape them.
They will kill you.
Yeah, but those are slaves. Those are subjects.
Oh, yeah. Those are
Viking,
succulents.
Viking women kind of like, it's like, okay, rape me, whatever.
Yeah.
Lift my dress up.
Look, getting raped by an earl? Ooh, now you're talking.
No, we're not
Next show.
We're not there yet.
It's like, you rape me now, I'm going to get your ass later.
Just wait.
Raping. Here we go.
Let's do final thoughts on
Morwin's.
Outlander.
We got to talk about the Morwin.
Oh yeah, the dragon. We didn't talk about the dragon yet. I thought the design was really cool. I was at first they did a really good job of like hiding it in shadow. They didn't really show it. It was kind of like this weird thing that you didn't really get to
It
see.
was intriguing.
It was cool. And
It lures you in with its lights.
This had this weird light up feature that it like tricked people with. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was honestly terrified that when they actually did the reveal that it was going to look like absolute dog shit because it was 2008 and they didn't have a big budget, but it looks decent. I mean, it's not good by today's
It's
standards.
very dark. It's very dark.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like
I thought at the end shot when spoiler when it fell off the cliff and you could like get the full reveal. It was a little bit what's that movie with Sean Connery as the voice of the dragon?
Dragonheart.
It was a little brave Dragonheart there at the end when they showed his face.
Yeah.
And I also felt a little bit sorry for it at the very end there when they were showing his face too. And I was like, oh, he's kind of a cute Norwin. I don't want him to die, but yeah.
Well, especially considering what happened to its people.
Yeah. Really genocidal.
Yeah. Like you said, you kind of feel a little bad for it, but he was kind of a shitty Mormon. He was piling up those bodies in that lava cave, man.
It was pretty dark.
Pretty
gross.
gross.
There was a pretty gruesome cave scene in this where there was just like a village full of...
That's right out of Beowulf, though.
Yeah.
That too.
I mean, that was like some serious carnage. It was like, it was almost like kind of a little bit off-putting. It was like it didn't like really kind of fit with the rest of the movie almost.
Is this movie rated R?
No. Oh, it would have to be, wouldn't it?
I think it's PG-13, isn't it?
Really? With that much gore? Like they like dismember people full on.
There was one scene where in the end there where the baby one's just like straight up eating the dude's guts and he's still alive.
Yeah,
Going,
that's right. Holy cow. I remember that. Yeah, the dude was still alive while this thing was eating his intestines.
Yeah.
Wow. This was a pretty
dark
movie.
I was like, wow, man. They were like pushing the badness of the Mormon hardcore at that.
Well, they had to because they set it up to be like a sympathetic character. We're like, well, we really have to make it look bad. So people okay, I figured.
No boobs though.
No, but there's no boobs in any.
I know, man. It's like, give me some boobs.
You
if
can't
you're
have everything.
Yeah,
I need some Freya boobs.
You can't have strong women.
There's some scrotum.
Is what?
There's some scrotum in Norseman.
Shall we skip ahead? Are we there yet?
Have we done final thoughts?
Are we there yet, Dad? Are we there yet?
Final thoughts?
What would you give this movie? Would you recommend it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, across the board, everybody's like,
I give it another 4.
Yeah, because it got a 38. Not that I don't really give a crap about Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, Rotten Tomatoes
garbage
sucks.
website, but it got like a 38%. I was like, really? This is a decent movie. So I don't know why it got such a low rating. Katie, you got any final thoughts on it?
I enjoyed this movie. It was a little bit too long, but it was, to compare it to the 13th Warrior, it was like night and day. It was a much better written, better developed, a lot more fun of a concept, better take on the Beowulf mythos. So overall, I'd give this maybe like 3 out of 5.
Right on.
I'd recommend it.
Sorry, this is the first movie that Kadish and I watched separately for the podcast.
Oh, yeah?
And he kept trying to talk to me about it after I watched it. I was like, I'm not talking to you. Save it for the pod. He was like, well, I've seen it before. And I was like, fine.
I don't think I haven't seen this movie yet. This is my first time watching it.
Yeah, it was my first watch.
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
I think it was my second. So
right on.
I remember when we were trying to pick out movies for Viking Week, and we were like, what was the name of that Spaceman one?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'd only seen it once before now. So
I hope some people listen to this that have never seen it.
Yeah.
And watch it.
I think there's probably a lot of people that have never seen it.
Yeah. So go check this movie out.
Yeah,
we're all
it's
avid movie watchers.
It's fun.
And most of us hadn't seen it.
It's kind of funny because Jim Caviezel's career was kind of like on a slight uptick after Passion of the Christ, and he starred in this movie, and the Weinsteins, the way they handled it, pushing it direct to video, it actually kind of hurt him.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because I think he's a good actor.
He's really good. I like him.
I love him in Count of Monte Cristo.
Count of Monte Cristo.
It's freaking awesome.
Have you ever seen Person of Interest?
No.
The TV show?
He's in a TV show?
You love talking about this show. I don't think anyone's ever watched it.
It's a great show.
We should,
Like it's by the same people who made Westworld. So like if you like Westworld, this movie, I'm sorry, Person of Interest tackles a lot of the same concepts, and it's really good.
Okay, we'll have to check it out. All right, before we go on to the next and most anticipated,
what's Jude's grade?
Oh, did you give it a grade? You said you liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Well, give it
What
a
would you
score.
give it a score out of 5?
Did you give it a score?
I gave it a 4.
Oh, you gave it a 4?
Yeah.
Oh, on a scale of 1 to 5?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, not your 10-point scale.
We don't. Welcome to the Salty Nerd Podcast, where the points are made up and the rules don't matter.
I give it a
Then
point.
I give it a B+.
A B+.
All right.
On a scale of 10.
Exactly.
Perfect.
I give it 17 flarbs.
Give it 4.89 buttholes.
I give it a 2-headed dragon, not a 3.
Okay, good.
Booty shoe.
Check out our Mythic Quest episode if you want to get Alex's joke there.
That's for the hardcore fans.
It's for those of you who've listened for a long time.
Talking to you, Nick. Anyway, before we get started on the next subject, I want to encourage everybody to go to saltynerdstore.com. We have all kinds of really cool merch there. I've been working really hard on making some fun stickers and t-shirts for you guys that have to do with the podcast, but also just like pop culture in general. Some of my favorite stuff that I did a Pulp Fiction shirt with this is some gourmet shit. It's got him holding a coffee cup like in front of Jimmy from that scene in Pulp Fiction. I love that shirt. I just ordered the sticker for myself. I'm gonna put it on my mug for work. And there's like t-shirts on there from I made a Merton Riggs presidential t-shirt. You guys can check out. All the things are available in multiple different formats. You can get stickers, t-shirts, you can get posters, all kinds of stuff. So
So what you're saying is we have T-shirts for sale,
yes,
and people should buy them.
yes.
Do we have hats? Can we have hats?
I don't think they sell hats on Teespring, but I can look into finding out how to get hats.
I have a hat.
He has the one and only Salty Nerd hat on right now.
Yeah, we do have a lot of cool shirts on the store, though. So if you guys don't want to be a patron, you can support the show by buying some of the merchandise. That's a lot of fun. We got some inside joke T-shirts, and we also got some T-shirts that are geared around movies we've talked about. So like there's something for everyone there.
Yeah, check it out. Help support the podcast. Anything that you give us, you'll also get a really cool product in return, but anything that we make off of the purchase goes straight into more production value for the podcast. So if you like our stuff and you want to get some cool stuff in return, go to saltynerdstore.com.
What's that URL again?
saltynerdstore.com. All right. Our most anticipated discussion for today.
We've been dropping jokes about this all throughout the
so happy
podcast.
you guys
that nobody's going to
agreed to
get
watch this show.
until we talk about this.
Normally we pick movies because it's typically easier for us to all kind of watch within a week or so. But Vader was adamant that he wanted us to watch this TV show called Norsemen
On Netflix.
So
on
adamant
Netflix.
that I think all of us were like, fine.
It was
I don't think any of us wanted to watch
It was
this.
a big commitment.
Yeah.
It was not.
It was 3 seasons.
Three
dude.
seasons is a lot.
6 half-hour episodes each.
9 hours.
9
of
hours.
total content.
Dude, if we told you to watch 9 hours worth of a show for next
You'd
week's
fucking quit the
you would be
podcast.
like,
We planned this a month ago.
yes, we did. You gave us plenty of time. I'm just giving you shit. No, but it's a TV show on Netflix that you guys can watch. It's about half-hour episodes each. There's 3 seasons out right now.
Good
and
Lord.
Jude, is this your first time having meat?
Yeah,
good,
I
right?
guess.
Wow. What do you think?
I'm just smelling it. Smells
It's like beer and wine had
I think
a
we
baby.
need to do a toast before we get into this.
Oh,
I
Skall.
don't have anything left. Hold on.
Viking blood mead that Alex brought in to the show today. Looks,
I'm leaving all this in. This is too good.
yeah.
Skall.
Skall.
All right. We're drinking. I got this at
Oh my God, that's good.
Total Wines.
That is like pure straight up honey.
Yeah.
it's-
Does it taste like the lamentations of your enemy's wives?
God, I wish.
So for those of you who don't know, mead is actually fermented honey
That's
alcohol.
incredible.
Yep. I actually made my own mead.
I'm gonna go buy a bottle of that.
Last year.
Yeah, mead's great.
Didn't you bring some over?
No, it was gone by the time we started doing the podcast.
You get that at Lee's?
Yeah. No,
Total.
Total
Wines.
Wine? Okay.
Yep.
But Vikings, they couldn't grow grapes or do much agriculture. So like it was basically they would harvest honey and ferment it, and that was what they got.
Which is
drunk
kind
off
of a funny little joke from the 13th Warrior, remember? So, yeah.
Yeah, where basically the Antonio Banderas character, who's a devout Muslim, he's like, I cannot taste the fermentation of grape or barley or wheat or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like dude, it's honey.
Herger's all like, it's honey, bro. You're good.
And then he starts drinking. He's like, oh, this is good.
Mead is great, and it is actually pretty simple to make. I made my own. It didn't exactly come out great, but it was very alcoholic.
Mead is a paid sponsor of this podcast.
The salty nerd brand of mead.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, Norseman.
Jude,
Norseman, yeah,
Jude,
sorry.
what's Norseman about?
Jude.
Okay, Norsemen. So it premiered in 2016. There's 3 seasons, and it's about the residents of an 8th century Viking village experiencing political rivalry, social change, innovations that upend their culture and their way of life.
And modern day hangups.
Yeah. So this was actually simultaneously recorded in both Norwegian and English languages. Every scene was first shot in Norwegian, and then it was shot in English. And the Norwegian version is called Viking, and the English version can be seen on Netflix, and it's called The Norseman.
Nice. So the best way I can describe this to anybody out there who hasn't seen it yet is it's like the UK version of The Office. Very dry, like almost creepy humor. Mixed with History Channel's Vikings, because it's also
That's exactly what it is.
extremely gory.
I'd actually say
dark.
I'd actually say it's more like Curb Your Enthusiasm meets Game of Thrones.
That's not bad either.
I would say it's a spoof on the show Vikings.
It is a spoof, but like the way that the improvisational comedy comes across, it feels very Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque. This show is so confusing to me because like
It's very confusing.
Like the dialogue aspect of it is very humorous, but then they contrast that with like very gory violence and like
Uncomfortable subjects.
like heavy political intrigue, and like there's like huge wars and like power struggles and all types of stuff going on in the show, while people are
Joking about poop and freaking like rape and like really dark subjects that they're just like, oh, he's just a subhuman. So just kill him.
But they all talk like a Seinfeld episode,
So in the English version, I'm assuming that all these actors, English is their second language.
They're all Norwegian.
Yeah, so their English is their second language, and you can really tell. And I don't think they ever try to hide it.
No,
because when they talk in English, they do a lot of ums and uhs, like they're trying to figure out the right wordage to say to like translate. It works
I think
well.
I think that's why I liked it the first time I watched. This is the second time I've seen this series, so I watched it again for this show.
You rewatched the whole thing?
Well, yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons when they first came out like 2 years ago.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm glad I did because I had actually forgotten how it ended. I'm not gonna. Are we spoiling?
Yeah.
Spoil the hell out of it.
We spoil everything.
I'd forgotten that. I forgot that Freya died.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Yeah. I'm like,
hated
what?
that.
So end of season 2.
Yeah.
Freya,
well, first of all, who's Freya?
Freya is the.
Let's
the
start
shield
at the
maiden.
beginning.
Let's describe the characters.
Yeah.
Vader, you've seen it twice.
Let's go through each character.
Why don't you tell us about some of the main
I don't
the
remember all
majors.
So Orm. Orm is the chieftain's brother.
The chieftain is Olav,
Something
right?
something like that.
We're gonna butcher these names.
Orm's kind of a fuck up.
Orm's a complete. He's a perverted, creepy.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
I don't like him.
Well,
but you're not supposed to like him.
I know.
He's a homosexual, even though like
He's a homosexual.
He doesn't know it.
He's a gay Viking.
yeah, he's a gay Viking. That's a good way to put it.
If you go to season 3, right, which is actually a prequel to season 1 and 2,
Yeah.
they set up Orm, it goes right in, and he has this weird fascination of going to the shitting.
Shitting stump.
The shitting stump
Log.
where the whole
the shitting log.
where the whole village goes to poop and defecate.
Yeah, which is it's just a log
But he likes
over a ditch.
he likes to hide underneath the shitting log and look at people's buttholes when they poop. And it's like, and he like gets in trouble because he gets caught, and it's really weird.
He has like this incredibly intricate tunnel system underneath the shitting log. And there's a scene where he's running away. Somebody like hears him scuffling under the ground.
No, what's that?
Orm, where are you? And he's hiding from them.
And the chieftain's wife finds him, whose name is Hilda, I think. She's a little climber. Hilder.
We just killed this show, and people are going, I'm not watching this stupid show.
Yeah.
People looking at buttholes. It's like,
It's kind of funny though, because Orm, in addition to being kind of like the fuck up Viking, he's also kind of like the most politically ruthless in a way.
Yeah.
Where in a way he kind of reminded me of Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones, where everyone always like kind of looks down upon him, but he somehow always ends up turning it to his advantage.
Yeah, he outsmarts everybody. And oh wait, it doesn't matter what. Like at one point, he was a complete like lowest level slave, and then within the episode, he makes himself
He becomes
a chieftain.
the chieftain.
It's weird, but it all works. Like none of it's unbelievable. He knows how to maneuver these things and play situations to his advantage. And he throws a bunch of his family members and friends under the bus to do it.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
extremely ruthless.
He legit kills his brother,
Yeah.
who's the chieftain.
Well, no,
the other dude killed him.
The leader of the wandering people.
But
he was dying.
yeah. Oh, that's right. He killed him on his deathbed.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Orm is the one who actually killed his brother, who was the chieftain. And then Orm's kind of chief rival in the village is Arvid, who's this fat, burly warrior guy.
He's not fat. He has a curve.
He has a
He's a
curved
curved
spine.
spine.
Yeah, it just makes him look
chubby.
fast. Yeah. But
I have that problem.
Arvid's kind of like the quintessential Viking warrior guy. And he was like the right-hand man of Orm's brother.
Yeah, he's kind of like the leader of the war party.
Yeah, and so Orm's brother, Olav, who was the original chieftain, as he's dying, he wants to name Arvid as the actual chieftain instead of having it passed to Orm.
Because he knows Orm's like a total jackhole.
Orm overhears this, and he kills his brother before he can make a public pronouncement of succession. And so throughout the series, like all the Vikings are kind of like wanting Arvid to step up, but Arvid just kind of like is so clueless most of the time.
Arvid's not smart.
No, he's not.
He's kind of dumb.
Although he comes up with ideas so crazy,
Yeah,
It
he
just might work.
There was. I want to talk. This might be. We're jumping all over.
Yeah,
the
we're
place.
gonna go all over the
There's
place.
no like rhyme or reason for us talking about the show. It's just everything that we love.
Don't listen to this episode. Just go watch the show.
And there was a scene where they did this raiding party, and there was prologue. There was a little prologue to it where we get to know this priest that lives in this little area,
and he's like the greatest
he's
person
like the
ever.
nicest person you could ever meet in the world. He helps children. He raises money for hospital. He's like super kind to everybody. We spend a good 15 minutes getting to know how awesome this guy is. And then the main character from the show, Arvid, just freaking hits him in the back of the head with an axe and kills him in plain sight of everybody.
in the most gruesome way possible.
And murders his entire tribe. And then they sit down at the table that they're all dead at. And they're like, man, this was a great raid.
Good turkey.
They set the table for us.
They're just like,
Total
you know,
Vikings.
It's
Complete,
really
yeah.
important to stop and enjoy the moment.
That's what makes this show so odd for me.
There's
is
just bodies
because
everywhere.
Like,
he's like got his elbow up on a dead body, and he's just relaxing.
it feels like the violence and stuff should be a lot goofier than
No, they play it straight.
no.
so good.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is, it feels like all the like gore and violence and stuff should be reflective of the dialogue, where like it's kind of like not taking itself seriously, but they take the violence very seriously.
Yes.
And so like you have like these weird like horrific moments of like incredible violent stuff. And it makes you feel like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then the next minute they open their mouths and they start talking and you want to laugh.
Yeah.
It's so uneven.
I think my favorite part of at least season 1 is when the chief and Arvid cook up the scheme for Arvid to get a wife and property.
Yeah, the home gang.
So, you know, the home gone. The home gone. So what Arvid does is they go back after the raid, and he wants to like get married and settle down and have a farm. So he goes and challenges the village
Olvar.
farmer,
The richest farmer in his village.
the richest farmer in his village with the wife and the farm.
Yeah.
And he just goes, I'm challenging you to a home gone, okay? It's okay, very good, all right? Yeah. So after tomorrow, we're going to go outside and have a challenge fight, and if I win, I'm going to take your wife and your property. And he's all like, what?
This farmer's like, but you're obviously going to win.
I don't know how to fight. He's like, you're going to win. And then, the next day they go out there and, they go through like this 5-minute long speech and spiel, and Arvid just straight up slices him in half.
In half.
One
In half.
swing.
Like-
Literally in half. Long way.
Like vertically.
And you're like, holy shit.
But the farmer Olvar, like he goes through this whole thing where he like buys special poison to like poison his blade to give him.
Yeah.
So like you think like there might actually be like some type of challenge there, but no. Like Arvid just like slices him right down the middle.
This show is the ultimate subversion of
Yes.
expectation.
Oh, for sure.
Every
Yeah.
corner you take, you do not know what
This
to
is
expect.
how it's done right, D&D.
Yeah.
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 And
for real.
it turns out that the wife that Arvid inherits, Liv, is like one of the worst
she's the
wives.
worst.
She started out as a slave.
And she worked her way up,
Yeah.
doing the same kind of thing that Orm's.
She didn't do shit.
Didn't do
He
anything.
just took a liking to her and bought her.
Yeah, but she
No,
threw
she
her.
seduced him.
Yeah, she seduced him, and then she like threw her other husband under the bus. Literally sold him into slavery.
Yeah, she had a husband, a slave
kids.
husband,
And two
and like
kids.
3 kids.
3 kids. Little baby.
Yeah.
And
And just ditched him.
What was the farmer's name?
Olvar.
Olvar buys her, sets her free, and marries her. She's awful to him.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's definitely cheating on him with her husband, her other husband.
Yeah.
And then they're like at a wedding, and she's like, "Oh, all of these powerful men around. I gotta go
rub
jerk
one
off."
out, yeah.
And he's like, "Ooh, that's sexy. I'll come with you." And she's like, "No."
She's like, I need to do this alone.
This show is so messed up.
The whole series, she's just attracted to like powerful men.
Yep.
She almost gets raped by an earl, and she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Send that seed up into my uterus." And she's too into it, so the earl can't even finish. He can't even start. He can't even get in her.
Dude, the discussion of rape in this show has got to be the most explicit freaking thing I've ever heard.
It's just the part of the culture.
It's just part of the, that's like, they talk about rape every episode.
Yeah.
And it's like the weirdest thing. They're like, I just can't get off unless I know that you're in pain. And it's like, oh my God.
Well, what's funny is the writers and producers of the show. They were like, yeah, we were a little gutsier in season 1 when we didn't know if anyone was going to watch the show. and they flat out said, like, so one of the jokes in the very first episode is that Froya, one of the female warrior Viking ladies, she comes back with all the other Viking warriors on this raid, and
She's got a necklace of penises.
Yeah, and she is the wife of
Arvin or
Orm.
Yeah.
Orm.
And they're bragging to Orm about like how great she was at raping. and
They're like, it was really something to see.
Yeah. and the writers are like, if we did that with Froya as a man, it probably wouldn't have gone over so well. But because it's a woman and we're talking about all the raping, no one has a problem.
It's a funny rape.
Yeah, there's a whole scene that they set up. I think we talked about it at the beginning of the
It's
show.
rape comedy.
But it's, rape. That's, yeah.
Can you imagine?
It's a whole genre of comedy. It's called rape comedy.
Yeah, in season 3, they actually set up, her raping.
It's like, well, how do you rape somebody if you're a girl, And
Yeah, you've got nothing down there.
you throw them on the ground and she basically just like mounts them and gives them a face ride. Yeah, and she just grinds them until they can't breathe anymore. Kills them with her crotch. Yeah, it's great. And then she cuts their dicks off and puts it on her necklace.
Dude. Like saying these words out loud, you're like,
shit.
watched that show?
And you're laughing while you're talking about it.
Yeah, face rape that motherfucker. Do it. Get him. Yeah,
Cut his dick off. Wear it. Make it into jewelry.
Stupid Christian priest. God. Yeah.
There's actually like a lot of weird. So like, there's this one scene in season 2 where a farmer's wife, her husband led a peasant revolt against Arvid, and when he comes back after his entire army's been slaughtered, she's like, "Oh, so when can I expect Arvid to come and ravage me?" It's just so casual. Like she's like, "Yeah, okay, now I know I'm going to get raped. Okay, like when can I expect it to happen?"
Can you give me an ETA on that rape?
It's really good now because now we're the only farmers. They can't do anything to us. They can't kill us. So
Yeah, we're the smartest people
And
around.
then his wife's, that's what it's
All right.
really.
So I'm just going to give a rundown of all the major characters in the show,
Okay.
just so everyone knows who we're talking about.
For continuity.
Yeah, so Orm is the Weasley chieftain's brother. He's kind of like the main antagonist of the show. Arvid is the kind of clueless Viking warrior guy. He's like the protagonist of the show. You have Jarl Varg, who's my favorite character, and he's like the big bad of all 3 seasons.
Surprise. He likes to go all Varg.
Yeah. You have Froya, who's like the female warrior. She's married to Orm, but she's also the sister of Hildur, who is the wife of the original chieftain Olav, who is Orm's brother. You have Rufus, who is a Roman slave who's also an actor. And we kind of see him do a lot of Machiavellian power plays during the show.
I hate him.
We have Kark, who is a slave who likes being a slave, and he's also the secret brother of Orm and Olav. And he's actually the oldest brother, so technically he should be the chieftain.
Technically should be the chieftain, but he was sold into slavery.
As a kid.
I did not pick that up.
You didn't?
What?
You
They
guys
have a whole episode about
in season 3.
about how he was sold into slavery as a child.
But he has
this massive back tattoo that like tells
they gave him when he was
exactly
a
who is.
baby.
And they covered it up with the whippings.
But he's
right?
never seen it
Yeah.
because it's like, well, all you really have to do to identify me is look at the tattoo on my back. Oh, but the chieftain lady.
Yeah.
The chieftain's wife.
The chieftain's
Hilda
wife.
doesn't want to
Like,
lose her position, so she
like,
re-whips
that's
him
what she
and then
did.
puts
Yeah.
dye on his back
Yeah,
so that
she-
you couldn't read his tattoo.
She fucked his tattoo up, so you couldn't tell who it was.
Oh my God.
And Hilda-
I missed
We just
that.
blew your mind, huh?
Yeah.
And Hilda actually let Froya die so that
Yes.
she could marry Arvid.
Yes.
So we also have Thorstein, who is Jarl Varg's right-hand guy. He's kind of like his sidekick.
Torstein Hund.
Yeah. We have Liv, who is the slave wife kind of lady who...
She's the worst.
she's attracted to power. We have Ragnar, who is like the young warrior Viking guy with like his half-shaved head.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
We
I
have
want my cape back.
yeah. We have Orn, who's like Ragnar's like buddy. He's the guy who stabbed himself in the leg to keep from going to the wedding.
I thought that was his dad.
Is it his dad? It
I
might
think
be.
it's his dad.
Then
think.
we have Olvar, who's like the rich farmer that Arvid kills at the beginning, and it turns out he has a twin brother. It was just a way to bring the same character
actor back, yeah.
But his twin brother is actually a rich farmer as well, who eventually leads the peasant revolt and gets all of his people killed. And because he's the last farmer, they don't kill him because otherwise they'll starve.
The peasant revolt. That was freaking hilarious.
And Olav is the original chieftain. He was the oldest brother of Orm,
Who dies on the shitting log.
who gets stabbed by an assassin on the shitting log.
Yeah.
And then Orm ends up killing him,
Yeah.
murdering him in order to take the chieftain position. So that's like kind of like the whole like cast of this show. And the humor comes from a lot of their like interactions with one another. Like for instance, Orm has a tail that he calls an ass sickle.
We learn about the ass sickle in episode 1,
Yeah.
but it's very vague.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is he talking
And he thinks
about?
everyone has an ass
Yeah.
sickle.
Yeah. We learn that he has like a legit tail. and he's like just talking about it nonchalantly with other Vikings. And they're like, what is he talking about? And he's like, you know when your ass sickle gets numb from sitting on it for too long. And throughout the entire series, he's referring to his ass sickle because he has a tail.
And there's also little things like, for instance, Rufus prefers non-erotic cock massages because he doesn't want anyone to steal his ejaculate and make copies of him. So like to relax, he just has someone jerk him off.
But not to completion.
But not to completion.
He just walks around with blue balls all the time.
Well, in the final season, like there's a slave that's given him a non-erotic cock massage, and he comes, and she's like, I don't know what went wrong. I've given 20,000 non-erotic cock massages.
It's like, how dare you
Yeah.
take me to completion
And
like that.
they're so casual about it. Like every character, they refer to sex as sexing.
Yeah.
You know, like this is like, oh yeah, you did the good sexing then. Yeah.
There was a scene talking about like weird sex moments. There was a scene, I think it was in season 3, where Orm is being taught by his older brother
Yes.
how to have sex.
Yeah.
And he's like, here, come with me and I'll show you. And he's like,
And Orm
so
thinks that he's going to have sex with his brother.
yeah, he's like, oh yeah, now that you say it, it kind of sounds natural that a brother would show me. So are you going to penetrate me or am I going to penetrate you? And he's like, whoa. No, that's not what's happening. And he's like, oh no, that wouldn't make any
So
sense.
he watches his brother have sex with
His
the wife
chieftain's
of the
wife,
chieftain.
yeah.
Hilder.
Yeah, and then afterwards he's like, so
Well, he keeps looking at his brother's ass, and they have to keep telling him like, no, look over here. Look over, and his eyes keep wandering to his
you
brother's
find your rhythm. And it's like, it's just straight up. They're not hiding anything. It's
No.
just, it's right in front of your face.
You don't see nothing, but
No,
you know what
there's
they're
no
doing.
penetration, but I mean,
It's-
But then he's like, so the thing that just hangs, it's just supposed to hang there? Like, do you not put that in the other hole?
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about his balls. He's like, so you don't shove your balls in the other hole? And they're like, no. He's
No.
like, but could you?
Yeah, he's like, perhaps in other lands that's how they do it and that's normal. And there's someone sitting there having this conversation, the same but only opposite. Because
Yeah.
because we're wrong and they're right.
It's such awkward
But
conversations.
yeah, there's a ton of funny little moments like this in this whole series.
You know what my favorite part of this series was? The bad guy, Jarl Varg. He's like, basically he becomes a villain because of male pattern baldness.
yeah, that's it.
But he's gathering an army of Vikings to fight his rival, and he comes up with a secret plan to recruit a dragon to help him destroy his enemies. So he goes to like this cave where a dragon lady lives. And the entire time you think like, oh, the dragon is just
bullshit.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
It's totally made up because like you never see the dragon. He never sees the dragon.
She's like, oh, the dragon is sleeping.
Yeah. Like she constantly does stuff to make you think that the dragon.
I see the dragon, and she's got talked with the dragon.
She's showing them paintings of the dragon, and he's like, hold on, this is very inconsistent. You see, on this one, you're riding the dragon, but then in this one, the dragon is the size of a mountain, so that makes no sense. And she's like, he was a puppy.
Yeah. And then like at the battle, like she shows up and they're like, where's the dragon? And she's like, oh, well, dragons are animals. You can't just tell them to show up at a certain time and they'd be there. And so they all come to the decision that, she's completely BSing them.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, look, here comes the dragon right now. Just turn around. And they're like, no. It's like
We refuse now. Yeah. We will not be duped by you again.
And then the camera shows you her point of view, and there's an actual dragon in the sky, like flying towards them, and none of the Viking. And she's like, "No, you just have to turn around. It's right there.
It's right there."
Yeah. And Jarl Varg is like, "Do not believe her. Do not believe her lies anymore."
I will kill anyone who looks that way.
Yeah. And so like he orders his archers to shoot her, so they kill the dragon lady, and the dragon's just like, oh fuck this, and it turns around and flies off.
You never see it.
And they never see it.
Never see the dragon again. They blew their entire special effects budget.
Yeah. And I thought that joke was brilliant. It was really good.
And Jarl Varg, I cannot say that. Jarl Varg's mortal enemy is his former best friend, who is named Jarl Borg, who is also a character in the show The Vikings, played by the same actor.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And it was driving me crazy because I was like, I know this guy. I was like, when was he introduced in season 1? I know I've seen him before. And Matt was like, we've never seen this character before. What are you talking about? And I was like, no. He's in season 1. And he's like, no, we sat and had an argument.
Arguing with Kate is just the worst.
I know. And I was wrong and he was right. Eventually, I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, you're right. He was only in 6 episodes. Am I psychic? I know I've seen this guy before. Turns out he played the exact same character in Vikings.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the whole kind of plot of all 3 seasons is that so Olav leads a raid to the lands to the west, which to Vikings, they're like, there are no lands to the west, but they end up finding
England.
England. And so like they find like everyone there's like a pacifist, there's lots of riches. It's basically like easy pickings for the Vikings.
Yep.
So they return with all this loot from the West and slaves, and they created a map of how to get to Britain. Olav's original deal with Jarl Varg was that Jarl Varg would spare his brother's life in exchange for a map to the West because he wants to lead his people to great riches and acclaim and stuff like that. And so Olav dies before he can give the map to to Jarl Varg, and Orm decides to keep the map for himself so that his tribe can become more rich and powerful and culturally significant. And so Jarl Varg gets pissed off. So he tries to get the map through various means. The first means is he storms the village, ends up getting his hands cut off.
Yep. By Freya.
Yeah, and when Arvid kind of takes the chieftain's position, he basically sends Jarl Varg packing, and then he tries to hire a master thief to go and steal the map, and that didn't go too well.
A ninja.
It was the Chinaman.
Yeah, and so then he's like, I have one last card to play. Betrayal. and so basically he recruits Orm, who at this point is a slave, to help him steal the map, and in exchange he will promote Orm to the chieftain of the village and stuff. And so Orm kind of arranges a coup against Arvid and helps Jarl Varg get the map. Jarl Varg finally gets this map. He looks at it and he's like, it looks like a child drew this.
So all I had to do was just sail
to the
west.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah.
That's why it's called going west.
That's why it's the map to the west. So like this entire show is based around this kind of like rivalry to get this map that they didn't really need to get.
Which is all set in motion by Orm, because Orm met a slave in prison who was from England.
Yeah.
And he ends up just like,
Well, he was like the Antonio Banderas character from 13th
Yeah.
Warriors,
Right.
Yeah.
where he was like this Muslim who just traveled the world.
Yeah.
And he got caught and thrown in jail by Jarl Varg because his skin was too dark.
yes. And,
show-
and Orm is also in jail and just happens to meet this guy, and they're about to kill Orm, and Orm's just crying. He's like, for example, there's so much stuff I wanted to do. I just found out there's a land to the west. I would really like to go there. That sounds nice. And then that's why he gets to live, is because he just found out about this. So Olaf makes a deal to save his life.
It's like,
for this map.
instead of giving my brother the blood eagle, how about I go to the west and make you a map and I come back and everything will be square. It's funny.
It's weird how serious the political maneuvering is in this show versus how just over the top ridiculous the characters and the dialogue is. It's
and we haven't even touched on a lot of the stuff. There's like all the slaves. And,
the subhumans.
The subhumans.
There's
Yeah.
so many different.
There was one
aspects
scene
of the
that
show.
I actually kind of got a little queasy at, was when they had the wedding. I think it was for Arvid and no, it was for Orm and the blonde chick,
Freya.
Freya. And they had to bring in this slave because at every wedding you kill a slave.
Oh yeah, the
And
bloodletting.
Yeah, and they had this character. He was out hanging out with his friends, and they were like, "Yeah, we have to pick a slave to kill for the wedding. It just has to be done." And everybody's
it's
like,
a great honor.
"Yeah." He's like, "Well, let's do it democratically. Let's just vote. Who all votes for this guy?" And they just all raise their hand. And the darkest thing, it totally messed me up because he goes to the wedding and he's there and he's like stripped down and they're ready to kill him right there, both holding the knife. And he's like, I really hope you guys make this marriage last because, this is my life that I feel like if you guys got divorced or
So
something,
dry.
it would be
So dry.
It would be like I died for nothing.
I die for nothing. And they're like, oh yeah, no, this marriage will last. And these two people hate each
They hate
other.
each other.
And this is season 3, so it's not lasting.
Yeah, and they just gut him like like intestines come
And all
out.
they did was like make a line on their foreheads.
Yeah,
I was like,
like-
oh my
like-
God, they just killed that guy for just that amount of blood.
Yeah, it was just like a finger full
Yeah.
of blood that they needed.
Yeah, it's like Kadish put it perfectly. It's a really confusing show because one moment you're laughing your ass off, and then the next moment you're like, I feel really uncomfortable right now.
I think that's why I liked it because it's just,
for
it's
sure.
just so over the top.
But
it's craziness.
There are these great moments, like for instance in season 3, where like Olav is talking about the shitting log bandit, who's been fingering people's assholes as they shit it. and he's talking about like we really should have stalls where we each have private areas where we take the shits, but we're just not there yet.
Just not technologically advanced enough. for
And
that.
I love when they're talking about like the technology that they have.
The ravens.
Yeah, with the ravens. They're like, we're so technologically advanced that we don't even know how things work.
The dude thought the chicken, he's like, when I see a bird, I just see wings and beak, and that's it. The bird is a bird. And he's like, yeah, but that's a chicken. He's like, no, that's a crow. It just plays it completely straight. This show is so
And
weird.
Jarl Varg's prosthetics are like the height of smithiness,
technology.
where it's basically like a spoon taped to his stomach. And like the other hand is just like this ball with sticks sticking out of it, so it looks like fingers.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, our Smith came up with this. It's the height of technology.
And when, what's his name? Torstein?
Torstein
Torstein Hund.
Yeah.
They're waiting for their ninja to show up, and they're like, he should be here right now. Just because you're the world's greatest thief, you should still be on time. It's just unprofessional. And Torstein looks at his wrist.
like he's checking his watch.
There's nothing there. He's like, sometimes I just like to look at my wrist when I'm waiting.
I wonder if that was like a
the little things.
outtake from like that they left in the
Yeah.
show.
don't know.
The little things in this show, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like I can see them. I can see the director. Why did you look at your wrist when you're talking about time? They don't have watches back then. Dumbass.
I could fix it.
I don't have enough film. I got to leave it in now. I can totally see that.
I love the actor who plays Jarl Varg because he's doing this thing where
Oh,
like
he's so
he's
good.
so creepy.
like there's this actor technique where like you basically you pick an animal that you model your movements and stuff after, and it's so obvious that he's chosen a snake, and like he'll just be standing there and he'll do this like little slither motion, and it's just so funny.
And it gets even better, like after he loses his hands, like the way that he uses his body when he's like gesturing to things, because he doesn't have hands to gesture with, so he gestures with his entire body when he's speaking, and it's just so his his physical comedy is hilarious.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I think that one of the funniest scenes in the whole show was when Jarl Varg is about to rape Liv as a way to get Arvid to like come out of hiding.
He's like, Arvid, I'm about to rape your wife. And she's super into it.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
But all of his men in the second season reveal that they were very traumatized.
Yeah, they're all very uncomfortable
by
with
being
him.
ordered
Yeah.
to rape, because he's like his men are just like, I have a wife. I don't want to perpetuate violence against women. Like they're all
I'm
very
a family man.
yeah. And they call like this little meeting with Jarl Varg, and they're like, can we just set some standards for like, like when
Some
we're
boundaries.
pillaging- yeah, some boundaries. And Jarl Varg just has them all killed.
This show is wild, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked it though. It was
Yeah, me too.
fascinating.
Yeah, this is great.
Great pick.
Yeah,
for
and
this
you
week.
know what's funny is so like the guys who created this show, I believe their names are John Ivar Helgaker and Jonas
Say that 3 times fast.
Torgerson.
To say this Viking and this other Viking made
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like they'd never made a TV show before, but they went to the Norwegian equivalent of the BBC, which is called NRK, and they're like, yeah, we have this idea for like a Viking show that's kind of funny, and the NRK was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, do it.
So they'd never like directed anything before.
Verbatim,
like,
I bet that's what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which kind of like plays right into how the show is, right?
Yeah, it
It's like,
just seems like a couple of guys decided to make a show, and that was it. And it works.
Yeah, it does.
like I get the same kind of vibe that we got off of that movie we watched a few weeks ago with the singing, the Eurovision.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Me
there are all
too.
these people like are all in the north. They're all like really kind of laid back, like whatever, just do what you got to do. It's cool.
Yeah. But they made the decision to shoot it in both Norwegian and English because they were kind of saying like, well, if we ever get an English, distributor, we don't want to have to overdub this stuff. And so they made a conscious decision to do it in both Norwegian and
So
English.
smart.
And when Netflix originally picked up season 1, what was really interesting is that one of the producers, Torgensen, he realized that, if they wanted to get enough money to do more seasons, that they would have to be a hit on Netflix. And so he studied the algorithm for how Netflix recommends stuff, and he spent $20,000 of his own money on Facebook ads to promote the show and get people to check it out. And the more people who checked it out, the more it trended on Netflix, so it would recommend it to more people. And I think like he got like 5 million Facebook users to get like 2 million video views. Like he would put clips of the show up on Facebook, and then they would go and check it out on Netflix. And Netflix called them up and like, guys, your show's blowing up. And they're like, can we pay you to make more of it? And they were like, yeah, I think that would be fine. and so like after he like basically hacked their algorithm, he spent like a total of like, I want to say like $40,000 over the entire like worldwide promoting the show on Facebook. And because of that, Netflix bought it as a Facebook original, and it was part of their,
A Facebook original?
No, Netflix
Netflix.
original.
Okay.
And it was Netflix's investment in it that allowed it to go for 2 more seasons. And so now they're talking about doing a 4th season. And it was kind of funny because the way this works is, so the first 2 seasons tell one story, and then the 3rd season is basically a prequel.
Yeah.
And the
It
reason
leads right up until the first episode.
of season 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the reason they did a prequel was because when they were writing the 3rd season, they were originally going to have it continue from the cliffhanger ending of the 2nd season. And they were like, well, we keep having to do all these flashbacks to explain stuff. So they were like, why don't we just do an entire prequel season so that, in the 4th
Everybody's
season,
all caught up.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can just hit the ground running.
And honestly, it tied up so many
It did.
loose ends.
I think it was like halfway through season 1 or maybe starting season 2. I texted you guys. I'm like, if they keep killing off all these characters and there's not going to be anybody left that I want to watch. And you guys were like, just wait. And then season 3 came and it was like all the characters that I loved were
They're all back.
We
Yeah.
find out how Rufus becomes a slave, and we find out the backstory of Kark the slave.
Yep. Yeah, it was
and,
cool.
And it's funny because the producers who made the show, they actually signed a new deal with Netflix to make a new show, which is called Captain Fall. And it's basically the Love Boat, Ozark, and the Truman Show all mushed together in a cartoon. And it's about a cruise ship and it follows a gullible captain who thinks he's landed the job of a lifetime, but it's actually just unaware of what's happening on his ship, and he's the fall guy for everything that goes wrong on it.
So
You
like
had me up
Avenue
until you
5,
said
but in cartoon
cartoon.
version?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of, yeah. But,
Give me Vikings.
but with the Vikings style humor.
Oh, man. All right,
Be
cool.
interesting.
All right, well, that was our discussion. It's
Yeah,
not a
we
review.
didn't even scratch the
Oh, it's-
surface.
No,
it's so good.
Go watch this show.
Ton of stuff. We'll
If you can stomach it, let's just preface this. It's really some graphic material
And
that
if you
this show
can't
deals
stomach
with.
It's
it,
not
then
that
you're not
bad.
really a Viking.
Then you're not a Viking. But it's
Go pillage your community and come home and watch Norsemen.
go do some raping and pillaging.
Remember that one guy where he was like, Jarl Varg fingered my urethra
To pieces.
to pieces. It's when I pee, it's like dumping a bucket. and Orm's just like, that doesn't happen. That's not possible. And he's like, okay, so maybe I exaggerated a bit.
It's just freaking weird, man. I would suggest go watch. If you can stomach this kind of humor, go watch it. It's freaking well worth the time.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun.
But if you like Vikings,
yeah, if you like Vikings, if you're a barbarian like Matt Vader over here, go check this
Love
show
it.
out.
Vader, which do you like better? Do you like Norsemen or do you like the History Channel's Viking show better?
I haven't finished that yet. But I like them both.
Both.
I'm asking which do you like better, though?
Probably the History Channel show,
Yeah.
but it's just because it's a more serious take.
Okay.
But I like the laugh too. So yeah, it's all good.
The uncomfortable laugh.
I don't even compare the two.
Yeah. It's a dark
Yeah.
show, but also it's darkly comedic.
I'm actually
So
only
it
two
kinda
seasons in of
lightens
the History
load.
Channel show. I need to finish it up.
Yeah, Norseman's actually a little bit too whimsical for all the dark topics it kind of handles.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like it. I
But
think it's why
yeah,
I
they
enjoyed it. Yeah.
they walk that tightrope well, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'd suggest go watching it. It sounds like everybody else is on the same page.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
go check out Norseman.
especially if you like Game of Thrones. Like this is a very Game of Thronesy show, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it took itself more
Way funnier though.
Yeah, way funnier.
way funny.
Okay, well, that's it. That's our discussion
That's
for
Viking,
Norseman.
Well,
that's Viking week.
bye.
It's Viking week. If you like this content, go to saltynerdclub.com and join the Patreon club. You get exclusive content, blooper reels, and exclusive podcasts. We talk about all things like advanced show notes. We let you guys know ahead of time what we're going to be talking about for the next month or so.
Yeah,
So,
what do we have up for next week, Alex?
Next week is part 2 of
Schwartz-Timber.
Schwartz-Timber. Thank you. Couldn't remember.
Schwarzenegger September.
Schwarzenegger September. We're talking some of the less talked about Schwarzenegger action movies. We're talking Seventh Day, which is I think about cloning, and then Eraser, which I forget what is it about, and then Running Man, which is a classic, but I think it needs more praise. So we're going to talk about those 3 movies.
I love The Running Man.
Yeah, Running Man's great.
Such a good movie.
Join us next week for Schwarzenegger September
Yeah,
Part
and
2.
check out our Part 1 where we talk about Arnold's comedies.
Anyway, around the table, where can we find everybody on the socials? Matthew Vader.
Matt Vader 74 on Twitch, on the Twitter, Instagram sometimes. I make a YouTube video about once a week. It's usually about something weird or dumb, reaction videos or opening my mail, exciting stuff,
Right on.
People like to watch it. I don't know why, but hey, it's cool.
That's YouTube in a nutshell.
I got some plans churning in my brain for YouTube. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
Yeah, Matt Vader 74.
All right. And Jude, where can they find you?
You can check out my OnlyFans page.
I don't even know this. Yeah, anyway.
I think we need to make a petition to get Vader on this Norseman TV show.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good.
You can't speak Nordic, though.
He could be the next.
Let's hear your Nordic.
I'll come from the West.
Yeah, he'll be from the West.
He's
from,
like the
from the New
Black
World.
Nor of Norsemen.
Yes.
He's just silent.
Just never
He
speaks.
just rides people's faces.
The beard's going to get there. I'm not planning on shaving until like Christmas.
He's the mute face rider.
Yes.
So, yes.
The Black Knight.
Yeah. Anyway, Jude, where can we find you? Sorry.
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on the socials.
And Matthew Kadish, where can they look up your stuff?
I can't even follow that.
I know.
At Matthew Kadish on Twitter and kadishbooks.com on for my Amazon
I'm
page.
crying right now.
Me too. All right. And I am the Salty Nerd. You can find me on Twitter at salty_nerd, talking movies and all kinds of weird stuff. DM me. My DMs are open as long as we follow each other.
Slide into those DMs.
Slide into those DMs and tell us what you think of the show. And leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever podcast platform that you listen to. And that'll greatly help us out getting our voice out there to more people if you enjoy the show. So share it, with friends and whatnot. Word of mouth works. So thanks for listening, and don't go raping nobody.